So this is the guy abadde yashayibwa abantu ate nayagalwa abantu. So we can probably maybe talk about somehow his fight against corruption. Nze nga personally kyemanyi nti yeyandetera okumanya nti people are selling organs in Uganda's hospitals. It's something that I never thought about, but it's something that has been believed to this time that the government officials were selling the organs, body organs of the people abakyalimu akalamulamu n'ababafunye accidents and so many things, organized crime that was taking place in Uganda's hospitals. That is what I can talk about him. I have a friend, he's a teacher, yenga ye kasita oyogera ku Tamale Mirundi ng'ajja ku radio oba nga agamba sirika. So but recently yangamba, man, do you know that I listened to that man? He's someone about the controversial, but his fight against corruption cannot be underestimated because he's been openly opposing corruption, and he has never supported. I think he has never supported any corruption. There's a scandal that was participated in. I remember Byandala, we scandal. I saw him 2 times secretary meeting Byandala in a place. Meeting Byandala, kumachanga meeting saa 12. Which later came out that Byandala wasn't involved in the money scandal, but it was Nasasa who was involved. My money scandal ya Katosi Road 24 billion ezabibwa nombuka Senketo. Byandala minister Nasasa was a minister at that time. Kati bamukyusa ne baba Byandala ministry. Byandala yajjanga ali mu rush ngagamba oluguudo lukolebwe biki ye na approving aba province 24 billion is already deposited first kukola Katosi Road. So of which the company was there are a lot of things that was undermined. For example, due diligence. The company due diligence. Senketo ya federal government n'agamba nti company etao eri mu US nti yegenda okolugulu Katosi. Kumbe company eri mu briefcase registered. So what the government did to do was to send people to do due diligence okulaba company jeva mu US and all that. So kati bakyusa minister Nasasa we have already alamaze oku approving ebyo bamukyusa oyo ani Byandala najja ye na approving aba province sentences college oluguudo lukolebwe because there was a lot of pressure from people oluguudo Katosi and all that. Kati bambi bamala bakwata ye. This is the explanation I get from Tamale Mirundi ngagamba nti Byandala wasn't involved. Byandala was sent to Luzira for some time and after he was exonerated nayenga abantu abamu abamulwanirira was that guy Tamale Mirundi. I saw him 2 times nga meeting minister Byandala in a secret location. Nenga bamalu meeting nga amukubira ekikopo ku radio stations net TV. So he's a guy that abadalwanirira some in videos sometimes twisting some truth, but then you find like twisting some truth, but some things be the controversial ngolina kubanga oli deep okutegeera ebintu ebyo. So he's that kind of person. I've seen him like several times, but I consider him also controversial. But one thing I want to appreciate him nti yandetera okumanya there's organs business in Uganda. It's something that I never actually thought about. There's something that I never knew to organs like is a business or something like that. And I think so many Ugandans actually didn't know that there was an organs business, people selling organs to developed countries through those big hospitals in Uganda. So he's been speaking so much against corruption. He has many long videos talking about corruption in Uganda. Someone's posted a video of him talking about Mbuga and all those 4 commissioners. I think it is Brayo who has posted it. I found that I was tagged. I just found the news that he died, so I didn't know much. I didn't know. Just found out. But everyone has his own say on Tamale Mirundi. The issue with public figures, especially when they die, their news actually gets more attention than the numbers, the big numbers. That's what is going to happen. You can see that so many people are talking about him. Actually, even forgetting that there are also numbers of people in Kitezi who are still lying in those garbages. So personally, that's what I can talk about Tamale Mirundi. He had his own personal mistakes and all that. He went against. He became so much personal to people and all that. But then whenever I speak, you don't fail to get some point. So somehow like what? But when you speak, you always get some point. He at one point had to cross for his he calling it for his own protection. And again, the one who was thinking he will get safety protection and all that. But for several times, even this video that seems to have been recorded, for the one that I was playing, he was saying that and he has been speaking this publicly that Bamu to handle that. No one has evidence over that, but he's been speaking publicly about it. And all that they tried some years back to take him to hospitals, and then sometimes he blamed the government for not taking care of him. He credited some business people and some people in government for supporting him rather than the government doing that. He's been here, but the China government protection, because I saw him. He had the government car still and the security guard, so that means he was still government advisor, like Museveni's advisor, something like that. Of which something he'd been trashing that he was, but he doesn't want to be advisor. So that's what I can talk about him. As for me, if you have something to talk about his fight against corruption in Uganda, it's something we understand that there are a lot of things that might have happened, something that you might have disagreed with him, but we can talk about his fight against corruption. as corruption has been the main talk of our discussions. When we talk about individuals, especially those who have been much against corruption, we can't forget about him. He has exposed a lot of corruption, especially in State House, corruption in office of the Prime Minister, corruption in justice, and also corruption in Parliament. So because he worked with them. When you listen to his audios, when you watch him, he's always exposed deeply the things that were happening inside the State House. My first time to listen to him, I was wondering, how can this guy be speaking the things that were happening in State House publicly? And it was something that caught my attention, and I had to continue to listen to him, because he had much first-hand information from, like, speaking things that were happening deeply. But also, since he was a journalist, he had seen a lot of things taking place before he even joined the government. So at least what is information jawa, you can get something, you can, it's then about you to make your conclusion. But that's for me, that's what I decided. I didn't entirely agree with everything he was saying, but I could pick some things that he could be speaking. But these are not the people that you expected to be vying for political positions, because I remember one time he stood for political position in Rakai. He was defeated. He never stood again and again. In one of the videos that I watched some few days ago, he was saying that he's going to stand again in politics, which was not practically possible. He died probably before making it to his political position. I think one time he tried. I don't know if he was serious that he wanted to stand. But this video, the one I've just played this morning, he clearly indicated that he was poisoned and all that. And these are things that he's been talking about for his fight, mainly against Rabogo and his team. There's a time he used to play those audios, which I personally believe they were just created. He just created them, but saying that he had Miso, that Miso was listening to these guys. Tamale Mirundi studied psychology and studied political science, so you just have to understand who he was and how he managed to control his audience, and so he invested a lot of time that releasing audios of those people calling themselves a secret inner government, including Rawoga and the team. And some people believed those audios, which he called miso spying on government officials and Rabogo's group. But personally, I never believed that. Guys, let's start from there. We're talking about fight against corruption, and also remembering the life of Tamale Mirundi, who personally I believe that he contributed a lot in awakening many Ugandans, especially people that were listening to radios, and those who watching him on TVs, especially from NBS. There's days when he was being hosted by Kazewe Bashir and this Mwanga Lutaya. Yeah, so it's many people got to know him from there, and he moved. He vowed not to work again for the government. He vowed not to go back again to State House because of his personal problems with the state and the people that he called traitors. Before he died, I think he had joined the host group, and then he was pushing the project and all that. But we talk about his fight. People would, of course, criticize him for joining the Mhoz project, which actually Ugandans see as one of the beneficiaries of corruption. And these are the things that we talk about, the inconsistencies. So, yeah, as much as you fight against corruption, and then people now say, like, you join the Mhoz project, of which it's one of the corruption beneficiaries of the regime. So it's one of the things that I saw it was inconsistent of him, but it was his personal move, which I don't have any idea about it. Generally, outside, he managed to expose corruption in state, especially in State House, in Parliament, in judiciary, and also in local governments. He's one of the people that were not afraid to speak out when he saw something. Unlike many of the government officials, or even the previous government officials, most who even were there and now they don't want to talk about it. He never feared to speak about it. Right now, we have someone who has been working in cases A, Kasiate, who was a spokesperson, but now he should be the first person now to tell us what happened in cases A, all these things of Chitezi and all that. But you see, he's quiet. You can set a man in Tatia Losi and Tatia Danger, and someone who was go to a government, you don't say this and all that. For him, it was a Namwat leader, someone that speaks out everything he wants to speak. And go to government, please stop here and all that. To the extent that even Museveni gave up on him, Namale Kables, and then now flowing. So that's the kind of a guy that Tamale Mirundi was. But at the moment, what I know is that he died in Yagamba. He never wanted those religious people to bury him, so you will not see religious people praying for his body, for his spirit, and or something like that, because he bashed them. Now Nagamba, they are also corrupt, and they are also one of the people mainly going against them. And this is one of the things also, like I had long time ago. He was so much hard on religious leaders, calling them corrupt and all that. So Personally, I was much motivated by when I listened to him in those days. I used to listen to him on radio stations and all that. When he joined the TV, I used to watch him on NBS and Azwe Bashir Muyanga Taya. And then after, I never watched him again. I was just watching some clips. And so many people started watching him from the Muyanga Lutaya's time. Remember when we had Jambia Muyanga Lutaya, and I mean we are Muyanga Lutaya MP. I think I shared even that video on my timeline. I've shared it many times. This is a guy who didn't give much respect to the host, hosting. He takes over the show, so he will direct you on what you want to speak, and it is very hard to host. It was very hard to host Tamale Mirundi in a political show because he gives the topic, he discusses the topic, and he concludes the topic. So at the end of the day, the moderator just follows what Tamale Mirundi has to say. So this is a guy, that's Tamale Mirundi. He has been so much controversial. You know, the death of controversial people is normally followed by allegations and all that and all that. You'll hear so many things, but this is not the things that you're going to hear from people. He's been speaking about these things personally. This video that I played here, he talked about being poisoned. So just know that the poison thing is going to be so much in his death. And I think because he talked about it, so we can't refute it because it is him that spoke about it before his death. If it was us alleging that he was poisoned, then maybe it would. But also, this is a person that has been known a non-drunkard, and something that also costed his personality in Uganda. When they find when you do something, when they find like you are doing, for example, if you're a drunkard, if you are a ganja smoker, when you say something, they attach it to that. So they used to say that Tamale Mirundi just and all that. So one of the things he said that he had left Okunywa Mwenge because he believed that that's where they poisoned him from. And for some time, Yagamba Ntaloko said he had left drinking, claiming that that's where they poisoned him from. I don't think that he had completely stopped. But I remember there's a time when he said that he had stopped drinking alcohol. So that's also something that I remember about his poison story and all that. And that happened in the middle of that time where he was so much hard on his public known enemy. Rawogo. I don't think Rawogo will sleep. I think this. I don't think he will not sleep. The Rawogo is going to have a very nice sleep today. I mean, yes, the past night Rawogo must have had a good sleep, and all these days he's going to have a very good sleep because someone that has been accusing him publicly has died. Everyone most people knew Rawogo from Tamale Mirundi. They knew Muko from Tamale Mirundi. So I believe Rawogo is going to have a very nice sleep after the death of his accuser. But there are so many videos that still connect Rawogo to the poisoning story and to the death of this guy, because he has been saying that when you open the YouTube channel about Tamale Mirundi and Rawogo, will find so many videos about that. So this is the guy we're talking about, his role in fight against corruption. What you know about him, we may not go into much of his politics and all that, but we are looking at his role in fight against corruption, what he did, what he contributed to the country. Because we say, however much someone had his own personal problems, there always a role someone plays, and that role will never be underestimated. So his role in fight against corruption is something that we can't forget. Personally, I can't forget, and I can talk about it until. If you know something, if you want to contribute something, please, you can request for the mic. This doesn't mean that we are diverting our attention, but we are trying to create a conversation, because at the end of the day, we are still talking about corruption. In the video that was posted by this guy called Brayo. Yeah, Brayo. I think, let me just bring it here. Brayo. He was very hard on corrupt people, especially Matthias Mpuga. Let me just put it in the comment section for those of you that have not watched it. He was very hard on corrupt people, especially Matthias Mpuga, and he was just sarcastically singing out and showing to like exposing corruption. Like we say, the fight against corruption is for everyone, but it's enough to send a message. So there's a way how it sounds when someone goes hard on against corruption, and for his role exposing these people, even if it's like how we made it, you don't want it like that, but it is a way. It's something that you can appreciate, that okay, this is good. This is a way how it scares the possible corrupt people. So any step that we do, any step, even tagging corrupt people, even posting about them, protesting against them, is a step that can shape a country. So we know so much that Tamale Mirundi exposing this organ trade in Uganda might have saved so many people. Might have saved so many border people who die. I mean, who are taken to emergency at Mulago, and then their organs, and then they are left to die so that their organs can be taken. So many he alleged so many things, especially in organized crime of selling organs of Ugandans from many big hospitals in Uganda. So you never know what it impacted on you, even yourself, and but also on other Ugandans. You never know, who goes there. Some people that were getting accidents, especially in vehicles, and borders were being left to die so that they can harvest their organ. There are so many Ugandans that have claimed that they received their people, the bodies of their people from hospitals that were being somehow operated, and then probably because you can't open you can't open the body at home. I mean, opening the internal bodies to find out what is missing. So some people have claimed that they have seen their family members in that state, and so we cannot really deny these allegations. But whatever happened, he tried to probably to show a light on what was happening, and then finally the government of Uganda had to make a bill that was streamlining the organ donation and something like that. It was a fight that probably I can attach it to Tamale Mirundi for organs. Ebibumba emitima, you know, Ugandans nga bofuna accident tebasobola kulowoozaako basobola kulowooza ku mutima gwo, bagamba ekibumba kyo kikyakola, you know, ekibumba kikyakola omutima gwoyo gukyali mulamu. So before you they don't think about you as a human being. They think about your organ. They think about your chibumba and sigo, you know, those organs. That's the organ we are talking about. People dying, especially getting those accidents in getting accidents around Kampala. Those are being taken to Murago and so many big hospitals that he was telling us that people were only focusing on your organs, you know. Balaba chibumba first before they see someone to save. They first look at your chibumba. Chibumba chono chirikitia. So like that. So then you know before your family members come to your rescue, because some people get accidents, especially borders at taxis, and then their family members are not yet aware of the incident. By the time you reach, they tell you that you have to, but then they have already operated. You don't know what they have taken. You find just the body in the mortuary. So and then you never question all other things. This is something that I personally believed. I don't know about other people, but personally believe, because there's another story that I watched on TV. Someone claiming that there's some suspecting that the organs were somehow missing. But also you have seen some other people from Arab countries who got some issues. They were problem hospitals, and then they find that China organs from, and then these are things that were somehow happening in some kind of dictatorship governments, especially in the Middle East, but also in Uganda, because at the end of the day, you want to do anything, you want to sue the government, you want to sue the hospital, then you don't have even money to take the body back to check whether the organs are there and all that. So they were taking advantage of everything. So yeah, this is what we're talking about. Talking about the personality of Tamale Mirundi, especially in his fight against corruption, and also in streamlining the way how we speak about corruption, because at that time you don't know how much it made people stronger even to come out and speak against corruption. Because if you see someone like Tamale Mirundi speaking out personally, and he says this thing happened in government, you don't know how many people he gave courage to openly speak out against corruption. You see, like, some people from the government have also managed to stand up. You can see maybe brother was managed to come out and stand up and speak against corruption. It's very few people that support the government that have openly managed to come out and speak out against corruption. It is bold of someone who is protected by the state, who is being guarded by the police or security office, government security official or government security personnel, to publicly criticize a state. This is one of the things that I give credit to the late Tamale Mirundi. So, guys, request for the mic if you need to speak, but then you need to speak. Just request for the mic. To simply mpola, remembering the contribution of Tamale Mirundi in fight against corruption. As most of us, we are fighting against corruption, and you know, it's not limited to any of where you're coming from, your political party, and all that. But if one of us have something to say about his contribution, about what you know about him, is you can request for the mic and speak. In the morning before you guys came, I was playing a video by Tamale Mirundi, where he was openly saying that he was poisoned, and that, of course, like, when he dies, like, those that poisoned him won't live long, and like, I don't know how he speaks, so I'll just play it once, and then you guys who want to speak, you can request for the mic, and then
what do you want him? So they will block him. Yes. I'm telling you, you see, they talk about the issues, and if this is the source, the genesis, bali mungi baleka kufuuka president yategeka kufuna never ne kali tukwata abantu bamutabona kakati najja ko mu nda mu president unana amanya mu sendara bali mugamba kufiki to bati ko kapati ro kene bali ko mayiki haka ndebe ndakana sijja kenda kujiriki bajja kunzi tabushiri na katoka kati abu bali chiri senga mfude nakani byaka kumi ngai musebe jamani kibango mina yankanisa ngai yangu teja kwanza nige chwa tukulike kuyo fata kubisha yana kaba tume wakabuli andiani chwa kamto kula street na ole yefo ya bakapano kipaba bato kwanza senda kan kai kuwa temuli sifuna ko ko ni pesa wala sifuna wale waba ni ole toba na mfumo mu mfumo bakati bile bikola ndi mu wole wole ko into bati
So that's how the guy was probably maybe someone posted that video and said this was his last video. I don't know when it was recorded, but then it is probably showing that man the other day those are so these are the guys that publicly speak about their lives, and also you never know, like when someone, so you may find a video somehow old, but this was his last video, but you can't verify that. So okusokola in this video means removing body organs, you know, and he was pointing at Rabogo as that they fought him because he fought that, and then he said into million kumi and all that. So something like that. This is the guy that you can really when you hear him, he prophesied his death so many long time ago. So that's why yes, this video looks like it's recent, but I can't verify because I've not been watching him live or recent. So guys, let us continue. If you have something like you paying tribute to the guy that has been in Uganda, in the state, in government, in journalism, also fighting against corruption and all that. But also you can say like he also fought somehow impunity like that, but also there's a way how he personally exercised that same impunity to other people. For example, like I said, in Agambika Yakuba, Miyangalutayam studio, you know, yeah, there's a time he came with a Jambia studio, you know, a Jambia and a Lipo, you know, it's a crime. So for someone to openly move with a Jambia, it's one of the, and so he came with the Jambia studio, you know. So these are some of the contradictions that you can find of him, but of his stance on corruption, he's been open and also much fighting against corruption. When you go to YouTube, you'll find a lot of videos talking about his fight against corruption. I leave that to you. So Sarah, come teach sooner about the organ donation bill. Okay, you've got Sarah. I believe she will come. Okay. Then someone said what? Okay. Sarah, maybe Sarah, when you come, you'll come and educate us about the organ donation bill. That was brought in Parliament. Council Tobias Wajolina also to back with that bill. You can tell us about that bill of organ donation. Budget after a very long period of fight for Tamale Mirundi, because he was probably ngaba to illegally extract organs. Officializing so that there's you can donate your organs mateka before bali bazitwala kutwaze kumpaka ndoza wala banga tabachasola kutwala organs nga abantu bali awake and bafanya resistance nibagamba let them now do what, let them now legalize it, put it into the law so that that's what organs. So well, there's a friend of mine I got in Tamale Mirundi on audio nanga Tamale Mirundi food. So the one of the guys Tamale Mirundi but then at the end of the day, when I stopped, like man, I listened to this guy. And but those days so what makes people change is when you remain consistent with what so people will believe you in that way. You have some people that believe in you like that. That's what Tamale said. He said he never worked for government, and actually he died before going back to government. You know, and all that. Just so he said you never. So the kind of consistency when people listen to you. So Willy, welcome. So can you request for the mic to Bully? And those that you are grieving a lot about the loss of your colleague, Tamale Mirundi. So we are hosting this space. Willy Basebo, where we could so have a mic and then tell us how you feel about the loss of someone that you used to listen to. Aqua vibe. So guys. However, someone might have inconsistencies, like we say, or we might not be perfect, but there's something that Richard Jokolanga actually right. That's what I was telling people that yes, this guy might have some problems, might have some issues, might be personal somehow, but there's always something that he says that you can always pick. You don't have to listen to everything that I say. You know, I may say 99%, but you pick the 1% sense that I will speak. So for me, that's what I decided to do when I was listening to that Tamale Mirundi. There are things that I could consider as just the vibe, and then you know, just like that for just yeah. So thank you so much, Doctor. You requested for the mic. Then I think you have okay. You're there, Doctor. Good morning. You have the mic.
In Buganda, when somebody dies, we say chitalo nyo chitalo dala. We don't say good morning. So in Luganda, I will say chitalo nyo chitalo dala. Also in Buganda, they say that when a person has died, we only remember their good things. But I think part of the political culture that has increasingly been practiced by the opposition in Uganda is that when a bad man dies, we expose them. So I think for me, having said that chitalo nyo, it is very difficult to completely mock and make fun of the late Tamale Mirundi, because although he was initially in the NRM and spoke for a while for the NRM, spreading propaganda, twisting stories to support the work of the NRM, after he suffered personally and after his son was attacked, I think for me, I noticed a change after Tamale Mirundi Jr. is attacked because of his partisan belonging to NUP, right? And he was severely beaten. And I think then I began to notice Tamale Mirundi Senior, Yosefu. So in terms of eulogizing him, I have previously danced on the graves of dead men. I've danced on the grave of Jacob Olanya. I danced on the grave of Eli Tumuine. I have promised to dance on the grave of Yoweri Museveni. I find it difficult to dance on Tamale Mirundi's grave, and I'll tell you why. Some of the reasons are very personal. Some of them are his political stance in his last season, right? And so as I say this, I think I want to underscore the fact that people say he's controversial, but people say I'm also controversial. And I think that controversy does not cancel the good things that we do. If Tamale Mirundi was controversial, there are things he contributed towards the struggle against corruption in Uganda. So the first thing I want to say is that, and it's my personal story, why I cannot dance on his grave, yet the reasons perhaps I should, is that when I undressed at Makerere University and later undressed in court, when many Baganda were saying the woman is mad, the woman is crazy, the woman is this and the woman is that, when many educated people who had access to TV and radio and newspapers were writing all sorts of condemnation and judgment about my own act of self-defense and resistance against the abuse of my labor rights and also the abuse of the court system to convict me when I was actually innocent. Tamale Mirundi is one of the very few people who went to TV and radio and said, Nalongo, in Buganda, Nalongo, Tawemula, in Buganda, Nalongo, Yeyambulanga, Arwanirira Bana, in Buganda, Obukunyaba Nalongo, Chakuranyisa. And as a Muganda man, he could have spoken about the people who are oppressing me. As a Muganda man, he could have said a lot of nonsense, like some cultural leaders in my Buffalo clan of Bugoba say. But that time he chose to stand upon the culture of the Baganda, which has been denigrated by religion, denigrated by civilization, denigrated by Western education. And he stood as a proud Muganda man, interpreting the acts of one oppressed Nalungo who went to culture. Uncorrupted, undiluted Buganda culture encourages nude protests, particularly by particular terms of women, including Nalungo. So for me, in that moment, I began to listen to Tamale Mirundi, not because I believed in his propaganda for NRM or for President Museveni, but because he was able to stand and defend me when most of Uganda, most of the world was condemning me. And scholars who have studied the public media response towards my nude protests, the one at Makerere and the one in court, often quote him using culture, Uganda culture. So he changed the narrative and the public agenda concerning my protest, and stupid people who don't understand African culture were able to begin to say, but maybe that is one of the weapons of the weak. And indeed it is. And so the language that I use as a Nalongo, Tamale Mirundi, explained again very clearly. Uganda Nalongo, Tawemula. When a Nalongo says mana, or says mbolo, or says whatever, it is often rage against a system, and we have cultural permission. So he refused his culture to be corrupted. If you're talking about his contribution to widespread corruption away from just money, Tamale Mirundi often used his Buganda culture, his worship of the ancestors, the shrines that he has, saying that he's no longer going to go to church, he's going to turn to the ancestors to defend particular political actions of resistance that were happening. So that's the second thing for me. Sort of part one was he defended my nude protest using culture, he defended my language, and his language was not very different from my language. Maybe mine, because it came from a woman, was often sort of ridiculed. Maybe mine, because I have a PhD and he had a master's degree. People thought, how can a PhD woman say that? But Tamale Mirundi spoke the same language. So he spoke whatever he had to speak to get the attention of whoever he had to get attention for. Those are my personal reasons why I think I will not be dancing on his grave, but I am saying Gachitaro Nyachitaro Dala. So in terms of his history as belonging to the NRM and then changing maybe to PLU, maybe to Muhoozi, I want to say that many of us come from particular histories. You don't know where I was before I joined FDC. I was an NRM cadre. I went to Chankwanzi. My father stood on the NRM card for parliament. My mother went to Chankwanzi. I come from a deeply NRM family. And similar to others who said that they joined opposition, although they were raised NRM, I come from such a history. My parents, when we were refugees as children in Nairobi, my father would get his monthly salary and contribute towards the NRM, contribute towards the rebel struggle. Those days it was a guerrilla struggle. And we used to call Museveni a revolutionary leader, And so we contributed as a family towards NRM. When NRM comes back into power, we come back to Uganda. And by the time my father died, I've told his story so many times, he was really a disgusted, disenfranchised, disillusioned, disappointed. previous NRM cadre who even stood for parliament with his background as an NRM member, although his party flaunted someone else during that campaign in the last season of that campaign. So Tamale Mirundi was NRM, then he became PLU. So what? Some of the comrades with whom our colleagues were arrested and spent time in prison during the corruption march were members of the NRM. And I think this thing we've been saying all the time, that our movement is non-partisan, becomes really clear when one considers Tamale Mirundi's fight against corruption. Because as MP Uganda, as you've said, in fact, there are many times when he spoke out against the rot inside State House, the rot inside the first family, the rot inside the relationships between, the nepotistic relationships between the in-laws, the daughters-in-law, the sisters-in-law, the brothers-in-law of dictator Yoweri Museveni and Janet Museveni Kataha. I think that although he was an insider, many times, especially after his money had been taken, he talks about Museveni sending him some money, and the people he sent took that money. So yes, had he benefited from corruption, maybe he wouldn't have become sour and spoken. So clearly he's conflicted. He's a man who was getting money. Why was Museveni giving him money? Okay, he was a man who was getting money out of corrupt means, but when that money was embezzled by those who were sent, and often he names Rabogo, then he became a sour person and began spilling secrets. So I think for me, he's not innocent, but he wasn't altogether guilty, because after he was cheated from his corruption deal, he began to speak a lot of secrets, a lot of secrets. And I think for me, similar to many others, I really did not like the earlier TV shows that were held by Kaziwe Bashir and Tamale Mirundi, but the latter ones, especially when he's on Baba TV, after he's been fired from, is it NBS or NTA? I think he had a stint in NBS. After he's been fired from NBS, and he joins Simon Muyanga Lutaya on Baba TV, and then he joins Adam Pungu on Radio 4, and then he joins Kasuku on that, I think it was a social media platform or radio, and then he joins his son, Tamale Mirundi Jr. in those regular interviews they'd have on Facebook Live. Then I began to listen to a very bitter Tamale Mirundi exposing and explaining how corruption works in Uganda, in the first house, in State House, in the first family, in ministries, and I think you talk about the human organs donation deal and the sales that you said were happening abroad, the exportation of human organs. I think for me, the Mabati thief is another example. The Mabati thieves scandal, where he came out very, very boldly and spoke about, condemned, cursed, did ugly dances, threatened fire to all the Mabati thieves, and he was very consistent, very, very consistent. Now, I cannot list the millions or maybe thousands or maybe hundreds of times Tamale Mirundi spoke against corruption and corrupt deals and nepotism and embezzlement and all the other components of corruption in Uganda. People can share what inspired them. I think I want to say there were very many times, because me, I'd watch him every, I think it was Thursday, with Simon Muyanga Lutaya, and I forget what day, with Adam Kungu, and then there's a guy called Kwezi who took over the show, and then I watched him regularly with Tamale Mirundi Jr. And he was always exposing something from a bitter standpoint of Banzi Baseteza. He exposed that one can work very hard for the regime, and then the regime will sell you out. You can serve a corrupt regime, but when they're done with you, they will sell you out, and you will pay and become bitter. I think he died Ngachaba and Desentezi. So the last thing I want to say as my contribution today is that for Tamale Mirundi, some of the times when he spoke, you were not very sure. And I remember there are times he used to talk about the wives of David Lewis Rubongoya and of Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu going to a place in Mutunga or somewhere and getting billions from State House, or going to get money from State House. When he mentioned members of the opposition, male members of the opposition wearing bonuses and showing up at State House, and he would find them there. And so because he was an unmuzzled gun shooting in all directions, it is not very certain what percentage of what he said was truthful or honest, and if he was not doing propaganda in some moments. And so I really agree with the advice, I think, that you give MP Uganda, that his contribution to the fight against corruption in Uganda must be taken with a healthy dose of skepticism. Don't believe everything he said. Can we wash away what he did? No. I think part of the problem in movements that resist against all sorts of fascism is the cancel culture, that if I do something wrong, it means everything I've done is cancelled. But as I started, I said, although I have danced on the graves of evil men working in NRM to serve the dictatorship, I will not dance on Tamale Mirundi's grave, because although some of the things he said are questionable, although some of the things he spoke against corruption may have been part of propaganda and state machinery, I also know that he has spoken very many truths that exposed the regime and sometimes led to interventions against corruption. So again, as we say in Luganda, chitalo nnyo chitalo ddala, I will not be sending Mabugo or attending the barrio or giving Mataba. But I think that I would really want to learn a bit more about the life of Tamale Mirundi and listen to others who have stories to share about what they remember about his fight against corruption. And I guess for me, then that emphasizes the point we've been making, that we are non-partisan. Because there is a partisan person from the NRM and the PLU, sometimes speaking honestly against corruption and standing with those of us who are in the march to Parliament to stop corruption. And this shows that the Stop Corruption movement did not start on 23rd July. It's been a long movement with a long history. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge those who came before us because they did some important work. Because if we don't know our history as a movement fighting against corruption, we will reinvent the wheel and make mistakes that were made by others instead of learning from them. And then we shall also avoid to utilize the successful lessons, the successful ways in which they fought against corruption. May Tamale Mirundi Jr. rest. I don't think he believed in heaven or in God. May Tamale Mirundi Senior rest well wherever he is. May he join the ancestors and as an ancestor continue the fight for us against corruption. May Miso, his tools of Miso, continue recording for us the corrupt people, and maybe one of his sons will join the struggle against corruption and expose the corrupt in power as he was doing. Thank you very much for creating the space to remember Tamale Mirundi's fight against corruption.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Stella. I was saying miso. It is everywhere. So that's one of the things. But don't forget what Dr. Stella said. It's something we are talking about here. Don't forget Tamale Mirundi was a propagandist. So don't believe everything as a propagandist. When you hear a propagandist speak, just listen and pick some few things. So this is what we are talking about. Thank you so much, Dr. Stella, for your very good submission. Abdul Salam, please you have the mic. You don't have to raise your hand. You are the next, please. Abdul Swipe, please unmute and speak. Guys, you can share the space and also contribute to this conversation. We're talking about Tamale's role in fight against corruption. I've shared in the comment section Brio's video. In the comment section, you can find it. If you have any contribution that you want to make, just request for the mic and speak. You have your personal observation, personal contribution, and what you feel about his contribution or what you remember about him. Like for me, what I said I remember about him was he awakened me. He educated me. He informed me of the organs. Yes, please.
Hope you're hearing me. Let me just say good morning to everyone here.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Abdul, please go ahead. We can hear you. Abdul, we can hear you. Please go ahead. All right. But we can hear you as we can hear you. Just unmute and speak if you are able to unmute again. Please unmute and speak. Like what I was saying, like Tamale Mirundi nali simanyi ebintu byonna anything to do with organs trade, organs business in Uganda. But when I listened to him, this is when I knew that there was organs business in Uganda. Abantu batunda organs z'abantu abagude ku benje, those that were not about to die, and they leave them to die so that they can harvest their organs and all that. It's one of the things that I had to believe. Yes, I know he's a propagandist, but I didn't. Yes, Abdul, please
Hello.
speak.
Are you hearing me well?
Yes. Genda maso tukulira. Okay, guys. Kukulira genda maso. Abdul, we can hear you. Okay. If you can hear me, please, when you unmute, speak. Just turn kokogera because if you can hear me, when you unmute, just speak. Don't ask whether we can hear you. Just know we can hear you. If you unmute, just continue to speak. You don't have to ask whether we can hear you. We can hear you, guys. Okay. My point here was like he made me aware of the organs business in Uganda, and after that, I started paying much attention to the stories in the papers and in media about the organs. And there are some people that came out to actually speak out that the members of their family had their organs been taken from some hospitals and all that. But because we have a government that is a dictatorship, and so not giving a lot of space to people that they suppress them. Most people couldn't speak out about that. So DJ Abdul, you have the mic. DJ Abdul?
Hello.
Yes.
Jendi mpulika.
Yes, please.
Masuze mu Uganda Uganda bannange kansubire muri bulungi kita Muganda waffe tata waffe jajja waffe Tamale Mirundi Mungu omwe era madamu Sera Nyanzi bwe yayogedde nti bamala kugira diiru ze za corruption ne bagana mu akasente ke n'alyoka atandika okwogera amaziba kituufu nzera ebimu ku bintu bye muyigiddeko mumbeera yonna era tujjukira bulungi wano yabeerera ku CBS yali musajja asinga okuba gavumenti eno Tamale Mirundi yali musajja wa mutawaana nnyo asinga okuba gavumenti naye neewuunya ate we yasalira eddiiro nadda eri n'ate n'agiwaana okufaako obufindi neewuunya nti ebibi bulijjo byayogerako babimazeewo mu lunaku lumu oba bbiri era finally wamala n'atandika okwogera amazima nti kino bintu bingi nnyo byazayogerako naye ekimu ku byo okutunda organizi z'abantu n'ayogera n'ebifo bwe babitundira bayirawe nange ekituufu amazima nakimanyira ku ye sijja kulimba nsi ali simanyi nti n'ebitundu by'abantu babitunda era nakimanyira ku ye era netandika n'okutya okugenda mu ddwaliro. Nze nina musajja wange omu yafuna accident, yali avuga boda, tumukwana muganga tukutwala ekiruddu, omusajja akuba omulanga agamba nange temuntwala kiruddu bagenda kunzira abantu ndemu ensigo, temuntwala kiruddu bagenda kunzira. Amazima ga Katonda muggulu, nze ndiwunya nnyo omuntu afunye accident abali notwalibwa mu ddwaliro bamuwa obujjanjabi, naye omuntu watuuka ku mbeera nti temuntwalayo bagenda kunzira nga nkyali mulamu bantu ndemu ensigo. Kitegeeza embeera y'eggwanga eba teri bulungi, era nakyewuunya nnyo. Ate era owulira ne Tamale Mirundi akyogerako nnyo era nsuubira kale Tamale Mirundi yadde abadde akuze, naye nze okusinziira ku nze sikiriza nti omusajja abadde yatuuse okufa. Nze nsuubira gavumenti yaffe erina kye yamukola, batera bba wakutwa ng'era Kazibwe Bashir bamukolako awo emabega ne bamudduse Kenya. Nsuubira naye era bakimukola
ogamba Segirinnya Kazibwe Bashir
ne Kazibwe Bashir sebo Kazibwe Bashir mbazi naye yaweebwako okutwa.
Mbadde simanyi
ne Kazibwe Bashir obadde tomanyi naye nga ne Kazibwe Bashir naye yaweebwako okutwa ne bamuddusayo Nairobi n'atereera butereezi. Ndowooza bubwe bwali bw'amaanyi nnyo, naye nze nsuubira naye omukulu oyo abadde yaweebwa butwa bwa Zaspagolinga nabo. Simanyi lwaki tebavaayo ne boogera nti bampaddewo obutwa.
DJ ono omusajja ayogedde emirundi mingi nnyo twamuwa obutwa, so ye tusikumuwanda bigambo Mukama ye kennyini yayogerera.
Yeye nyinyi yayogerera.
Yes, ne video ngiplayinze essaawa zino nagiplayinze nga tutandika. He spoke about that.
Kyayika mbadde siriko ngenda gendayo mu comment section ndabeko, naye nga sirina nnyo byamaanyi bye ngenda kwogerako. Kyetuunze kye nayigira ku Tamale Mirundi nti omuntu omubi ne bw'omuweereza ebirungi emirundi kakadde, era omubi asigala mubi, era finally amala nakola ekibi. Ebyo ebyange
webale nnyo ddala DJ. I think akakasembeyo kakulu nnyo nti omubi ne bw'omukolera n'ogamba nti njagala kukolera, njagala nongoose obubi bwo, era sitira omuntu asigala mubi, era bubi bujja kulabika. So omukyafu ne bw'omuyonjo oti era sitira asigala awunya, era bw'anaatambula mu bantu bajja mulira ng'awunya. So ndowooza kirungi nnyo submission gy'owadde ssebo Mr. DJ. Awebale nnyo ddala. Era nga DJ bw'agambye nti nange nze omu abasooka okumanya nti bayira ebitundu by'abantu babitunda naye simanyi waliwo ebintu byotalowooza nko mulamu. It's one of the things nalowooza nko nti abantu organize abantu basobola zitunda, not because I was ignorant but I wasn't aware that basobola tunda organs. So Abdul, are you able to speak now? DJ, Abdul, are you able to speak? Okay, Sunday, please unmute and speak. Abdul, you are going to drop and then come back.
Okay, greetings everyone. Good morning, Uganda. It's indeed a sad day. Kuchokufiirwa mukadde waffe Tamale Mirundi senior. Nze ng'omuntu kyasobola okwogera ku Tamale Mirundi. Tamale Mirundi natandika omufollowinga nga kyakola the other bwe batandika omukyaza program gye bali bayita one on one with Tamale Mirundi ne Kazibwe Bashir Mbazira. At the first mu kumufollowinga, I used to, listen to his program just for entertainment purposes. There is a way he used to speak and to like kind of sound comic. But
Yeah,
later,
that's very true.
Yeah, later when I started following his programs, zatandika okunyumira. Nentandika okunoting out some things from what he used to say. Natuuka ku level, to be honest with you, natuuka ku level. Nga bwe mba sifunye budde buwuliriza programu yaabwe kuba yabeerangawo ssaawa nga ndowooza zabeeranga nnyo ez'okumakya. Nga bwe mba sigiwuliriza. Awo nga nfuna obudde kawungeezi nga ngenda ku YouTube n'endaba video naye you would not want to miss him. One thing I have learned from him, omanyi omuntu bw'alwala n'afa. Oba mulimu abantu abamu abeebuuza olina gamba nti omuntu afudde accident emmotoka emutomedde ffenna tubadde tumulaba. Lwaki bakola postmortem? Oba omulala nafuna endowooza egamba nti omuntu kati bw'aba afudde lwaki tukola postmortem okutegeera ekyamusse ne bwe tunakitegeera kituyambe ki? Naye ndowooza one of the reasons why postmortem is done is to avoid reoccurrence. So buli lw'obeera omuntu n'afa ne tumwogerako ebintu nga bino, sometimes tuba tulina bingi bye tumuyigirako. Bw'aba alina mistakes ze yakola, ffe abakyali abalamu ne tufuba nnyo ze wala, oba alina ebirungi bye yakola, ffe abakyali abalamu ne tubikoperako and we take on the example. One thing I've learned from Tamale Mirundi, like one of the speakers who said that who concluded that no matter how you serve the most, finally, one thing I learned from this that never ever get tempted to think nti kati empologoma eri kusaidiyo kube kuyambyeko brother wo gobadde olwana naye emulidde nedda kuba bwemaliriza omulya manya bwaddako. The main Mbologoma we have now in Uganda that is eating everyone and every sector is Museveni and his government. So never at some point ngekuwa some favors just not abo bonyigiriza abo bekukozesa okuyambako okunyigiriza. At some point webana amala okugwawo you are the next victim. Tamale Mirundi yatuyambako exposing aba mafias, some of the mafias in Museveni's government. In any government, especially in a dictatorial regime like this one, ebisera bisinga mubeeramu abantu olwokuba bo babeera nga bafuuka untouchable. Mubeeramu abantu nga bo baagala nnyo gavumenti eyo esigaleko n'okusingako dictatorship yennyini. Kuba bano tulinawo abantu nga bali so powerful, talina formal position eri awo naye kamanyi galina muganda wange nga ne balagira balagira poliisi nti mugende mukwate gundi, they don't ask him nti akoze eki. Twalina wano kitata nga si wa poliisi, si wa maje, si wa intelligence, si minister, si ki, naye nga alina obuyinza obukyusa ne DPC omulamba n'agamba oyo mugobye mumutwale ne Kampala mutwale Yumbi ne bamutwala, nawe oyo bamuteeka amayinja ne bagamugyako. Mirundi waliwo wano abasajja babiri be yali yeesibako, omu wa Kamwenge omulala muko omukulu, nange kambogere bwentyo nga bwe yali aboogera. Abasajja abali mu Tuluba bw'ebyo ebiseera ebisinga babeera so much more dangerous n'okusinga dictator ye kennyini, kubanga bamanyi nti ku bikolobero bye bakoze dictator n'amala n'avaawo kabaka weddemu, kati baba bamulwanirako n'okusinga ye bwe yeerwanirako. In fact, in most cases they even get annoyed on his behalf. Bw'omwogerako bubi ye gw'oyogeddeko nga dictator nga tananyiiga, bo banyiiga on his behalf nga baggala nnyo gavumenti n'okusinga ye. So ekimu ku bye nayagala ku Tamale Mirundi nti for him he used to hold the bull by its horn. Abasajja abali mu kiko ekyo ebyatano kuvaayo n'oyimirira ku national TV n'oboogeraku, you must be having metallic balls. Otherwise, one of the people I knew had metallic balls in this country was Tamale Mirundi. I don't know if any of his sons will be able to fit in his shoes. Tamale Mirundi Junior yatera nnyo okwogera naye, I think he's still unserious, but surely Tamale Mirundi tagenda kuddawo. We shall miss him and it will take us long to get someone like him. Another thing I like about Tamale Mirundi is that, I mean, this is the fact nti yali propagandist wa regime, yali spin master and all that. Na ye at some point or in certain circumstances yali agezaako kubanga asobola okwogera independently. Nzijukira one day when the last polls was at its peak, yakoshoninga nga nagamba banange bana batwe muna abanyiga nnyo, trouble egenda okumeruka wano, you will cause us trouble. He's one man who used to speak things the way they are. When I would okufa kwe kumacha very in the morning, I must say that I was surely saddened. I was saddened, and what has even worsened the sadness is that kutugamba nti bye yafude tete bitegerekeka. How? You know, when kabuleti nkeraso bagamba undisclosed illness. What is undisclosed illness? Kuba Tamale Mirundi yes abade musajja mukulu naye tabade so elderly, abade mu 80s. So surely why would he die of undisclosed illness? Ate tabuze mu media for so long nti abade amaze mwaka mulamba nga mulwadde ngali ku kitanda nedda. Abade mu media recently nabulawo katono she's in court afudde. So okufa kwe kuyinza okusigala nga kuleka ebibuuzo, more questions than answers. Naye bya Uganda nga bobimanyi kyemanyi postmortem gye banaagala gye bagenda okufulumya, no investigations will be done and we shall also close that chapter. But that should remind us, as I conclude, kimanyi ne kuno ku space mu bantu abali kuno kati tulinako abantu abajjako purposely to listen what everyone will speak, what is Sunday speaking, what has Dr. Nyanzi spoken, so that they can report to their masters. Njagala kufa kwa Tamale Mirundi kubajukize nti no matter how you serve a lion can never be a pet. A lion will always remain a lion. So sooner than later it will eat us one by one. Today is Tamale Mirundi, tomorrow it could be me or you. Thank you very much. May the soul of Tamale Mirundi rest perfectly well till we shall meet again wherever he has gone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunday, for your very fine submission. Thank you so much for that. I've been reading somewhere in Daily Monitor saying that the doctor was saying that they tried to, they felt like he had some water in the lungs and then tried to remove it. Probably he didn't make it. So something like that. I'll bring that tweet in the comment section there.
Good morning, everyone who's on the space. Let me start with saying, inna lillahi wa rajiun. Mu dini yaffe Islam omuntu waffe tugamba inna lillahi wa rajiun. Sinzira ala yatuteeka ala yatugawa ala tetugawa abo. So eggwanga ne Uganda, it has lost powerful people and I don't know where we heading. Kubula abantu nga basobola kugerera ebwa batandika okufa we batyo. Saturday Tamale Mirundi nakirabye, it was yesterday midnight. I couldn't believe it until I was hosted on a certain space. That thing Arabic Tamale Mirundi. Rest in peace. Nzokuba okutegeera Tamale Mirundi was still at campus. It was 2018. I go one-on-one with MBS. That was every Tuesday. I remember I used to do morning lectures sometimes. Just watch that guy, what he could talk.
Abdu, sorry, Abdu, you have some network connection. Probably we can reconnect again. Abdu, we can't hear you. Guys, you can request for the mic and Abdu, are you able to speak now? You have connection issues, guy, please reconnect again and come back. You'll have your space to speak. You can request for the mic. Someone who has been asking, I think it's Sunday. I shared the tweet in the Daily Monitor that was posted some hours ago in the comment section there. You can go and read it. What the doctors were saying, that they found water in his they found water in his lungs, and then when tried to suck it, it was blood, so something like that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know much about it. Doctors will explain that complication. Abdu, are you able to speak again? Please, you can speak. Abdu? Abdu? Okay, you probably have dropped completely now. I can't see you. Abdu, are you able to speak? All right, sorry, Abdu, you are not able to speak. I believe you have connection issues. Members, you can request for the mic. We're talking about the contribution, Tamale Mirundi's contribution to fight against corruption. What you remember about him, and how you think he contributed to the fight against corruption. We said, I know I've had him for a very long period of time speaking about the mafias in the government, and corruption in state house, corruption in parliament, corruption in local governments, corruption in the media, everything. He's the one that actually told us that the journalists, that time he was against the journalists going to the press conference and picking money from the people that they have gone to cover, and that's something that is happening even up to now. If you're a journalist in the comments in the audience, you know it happens. The journalists these days, when they go to cover media, when they go to cover a certain story, they expect even money from the people they are covering. So he was speaking against the poverty in among the journalists. So and I've seen it. I know it. When you call a journalist, do you have some transport or what things like that? So that's also corruption, and it's something that is happening. DJ Abdul, you raised your hand. You wanted to say something.
Mpozi ekirala kyanzijjukidde wano ku Tamale Mirundi, oyo omusajja yali yandeetera okulekera okukkiriza mu mikutu gy'amawulire naddala egya TV. Nakigiramu ddala obwesigwe ku lwa nsonga ze. Alina ebiseera awo yakubira ennyo bukedde ono omusajja agikulira oba yaani werabidde naye alina erinnya lyali amuyita oba yali amuyita ntwe ya pusi. Kintu kyali fane nnyo ebiseera ebyo ng'ayogera ebintu bye biri fane. Naye nze nali nzikiririza nnyo mu mawulire ago naddala ge tulaba ku TV, ge tuwulira ku leediyo biki. Naye omusajja baaba yakuba amawulire nze nali ngula bukedde ne musoma. Nabira ddala ku mawulire, nakyayira ddala amawulire, ate Mungu n'atuyamba ne wajjawo ezo zi TikTok ezo ne butaba. Nze nakyayira ddala amawulire ku lulwe. Nze nali manyi edda nti bye bateeka ku mawulire okwo like agataliiko nfuufu, nansonyiwa okumentioninga naye kanjogere agataliiko nfuufu. Nze nali ngalaba nnyo nga ngeesiganga manyi buli kintu kye baleeta kiba kituufu. Baaba omusajja akuba amawulire paka nange bwe neerabirako n'agange mu butuufu ebintu bamala bikola edit ne balyoka babireeta eno. Waliwo bye baleeta nga bituufu, birala ne babireeta nga bikyamu. Ekyo ngenda kirifaalinga ku nsonga ezaaliwo Bobi Wine ng'anoonya akalulu. Atugenda mu kampeyini ya 2021. Abantu abamu in fact badduka ne mu ggwanga lwa kwogera mazima. Abaali bakola ku media abasinga badduka mu ggwanga lwa kwogera mazima. Nga so TV ezimu zituwako ebimu ng'ebirala tebabituwa. Ekyo kye mbadde njagala oyisaawo.
Thank you so much, DJ. I think you have reminded me of Kabushenga. I think that time he was so much against Kabushenga to never know your Musaja Mitani. So Kabushenga was the one in Vision Group, was the CEO, and that time Kabushenga used to be very much influential on social media, but that man was also a national problem. So he used to speak so much against Kabushenga, and when Kabushenga hosted this space March Parliament protest, March Parliament sometime back, where he hosted Mugisha Muntu, there is a speaker that came hard on him. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't remember his name. And even he posted on his timeline about Kabushenga's propaganda and blackmail of Dr. Besigye during walk-to-work protests. Kabushenga, during that time when he was the CEO of Daily Monitor, influenced the New Vision and other articles to write propaganda articles against Kizza Besigye that time during his walk-to-work. The man during that space that was hosted by Kabushenga, put Kabushenga on gunpoint. Namugamba, okay, please first apologize for creating fake propaganda against Dr. Besigye during the time that you are head of Vision Group. And when DJ Abdul speak about this kind of fake news in main media outlets, I remember during that time when Tamale Mirundi went hard on Kabushenga and people that were creating those fake stories. So he was being influenced by who? According to Tamale Mirundi, Kabushenga was being influenced by Rabogo and those Tumwebas and right now. So when you read the New Vision article that was posted a few days ago about the March Parliament and people being paid and all that and what they call intel. So who do you think now is influencing them, the vision, those articles in the papers? Who is the CEO? Who's that Wanyama? You know. So who's influencing now the articles? There must be someone influencing the propaganda in the media. So just know that corruption also happens behind those media outlets. You can see the propaganda in what? In a Nile Post, you call it NBS. There must always be someone behind. So, like you said, DJ, he has helped Ugandans to understand that those media articles are not just media articles. Sometimes they are pushed by a certain narrative and pushed by certain agendas of politicians and influential people. Guys, share the space. We continue. We are talking about the legacy of Tamale Mirundi in fight against corruption. You can request for the mic and speak out your perspective. Edwin, you have the mic.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the space and granting me an opportunity to say something about Tamale Mirundi. Tamale Mirundi. All I know about this guy, in his words, I don't think whether there is anywhere he has ever said that he's in support of corruption, because that's what he was supposed to say. But the fact is that a few things that I know about him. He was a journalist. He was a journalist during the time Museveni was coming. Actually, was still in Bush. Actually, he's the journalist who was covering the NRA stuff mostly. So when Museveni went into power, he felt like he was obliged to give Tamale Mirundi an opportunity of doing some news-related work, and among them was being they call them public opinion specialists, but in reality those are propagandists. So he was his propagandist. He did malice and sabotage in NRM. Sometimes NRM could think in a positive direction and could come up with an opinion that is negative in one way or the other. And so has been doing his job greatly actually, and yeah, he have done all what he was supposed to do. I don't think whether, however much he was a beneficiary of corruption, I don't think whether there is anywhere he has ever said that he stands or he sides with corruption. That's all I can say about Tamale Mirundi. Yeah, but may his soul rest in peace. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Edwin. Thank you so much, Edwin, for your submission. Guys, you are free to submit. You are free to request for the mic and speak. Just request for the mic and speak. Principal D, you have the mic, please.
Good morning. I've just joined and you've given me the mic. Good morning, everyone.
So you have joined and just requested for the mic, or it was just a default?
No, I can speak.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I want to say may his soul rest in peace and may God comfort the family. But Tamale Mirundi is one figure that I think there's no one in their rightful mind who does not know him. Like me, I started seeing him back then in WBS, and he's one person. I think after he was just from State House, I don't know, in whatever way he left, because he died fighting the people who he claimed chased him from there. So he's one person that made us to begin looking at news beyond headline. That when you look at the news, you want to know what exactly the headline of the newspapers are saying. He's one person who started making me follow and understand there's actually propaganda in the news. As someone said, Tamale Mirundi is the one who made him hate the mainstream media and newspapers. He made us realize that what we see on news sometimes is intended by some people in government to make the society go in a particular way. So he's one person who made me also take an interest that there's that morning show he had those days. He was always on either NBS, so you always want to watch. If you miss it, maybe because you're in class or reading at night, you want to go to YouTube and play it. But then he's one person that makes you blame the elite so much. He makes you realize that we have so many smart minds in this country, but they are under capture, because Tamale Mirundi was under capture, and I believe he was aware about it. That is one reason why he could not, even if he wanted, he could not leave NRM directly. So he was such a smart mind. He even says it clearly that his political career died when he joined NRM. But he's one person that makes you realize we have a lot of smart people, but they're all under capture. All of them. Because just imagine if Mirundi wasn't under state capture, what he could have done for this country. Because even when he's under, he's one person who he made his contribution. To me, I feel his contributions outweigh whatever wrongs he did. Because even when he was part of the government, he's one person who was clearly fighting against people who were against this country. Someone talked about the organ theft. I think Tamale Mirundi is one person who brought that so out clearly. That if you're not in the medical field, it was very hard for you to believe that there's actually people stealing. There are people stealing other people's organs here in Uganda. But it is happening. The street kids are being abducted because no one follows up on them. Organs are being taken and they are being sold. It was Tamale Mirundi who brought that onto light. And up to now, there are people who still think that those things are not happening. But I think that was the period where they cautioned him so much and he stopped playing his audio recordings on TV. I think it was the forces behind were too strong. But he's one person who single-handedly fought those people, because we don't have any other person in this country who we saw trying to speak out against organ theft, because those are things that involve very high-profile people and you need a lot of evidence to speak about. But he's one man who spoke about it constantly, even when no one was joining him. So to me, that one is single-handedly fought it until it reached the point and our government made it. I think they brought a bill in parliament to allow organ transfer, organ donation, of which someone may ask themselves now, organ donation. Have we reached that state where someone can easily donate their own organs here in Uganda? And even if you donate there,
Prince Body, talk about that. Talk about that. Well, have we as a country reached to that level where we need that? Have we as a country? How many countries have that kind of law in their countries, and especially in African countries? Why were they so much on pressure to bring that?
Yes, that was the period where we were all like, okay, you're bringing a bill in parliament about organ donation. We can't even do organ transplant here in Uganda. We cannot do it. we cannot do. We saw last time Mulago celebrating. Is it a kidney transplant? It was one, and it was the first one. And my friends from other countries were like, wait, you people all along, you were not doing this here. It was one, and it has since gone silent. We have seen that it is not happening because they need, is it 5 billion to set up a committee that oversees such a procedure. But currently we are not doing it. So organ transplant, they brought that bill for organ donation, and the country did not follow it. But that was for the big profile people to steal from the people of Uganda by the law. That I think there was a period where some guy was broadcasted on TV. I don't know whether it was NTV, the one who was missing one kidney, and then he had evidence that before him going to the hospital, he had done other ultrasound scans, and yet now, after him leaving, there was a scar. I don't know whether it was a man or a woman. The one who woke up and
he was a man. He was a man.
Yeah. So you see such incidences. Tamale Mirundi fought it single-handedly. Of course, the people who are in the medical field, you know that such things happen. There are some hospitals here in this country whereby if you're a government critic and you fall sick, it is to your own interest not to accept to be taken there. You know you may not survive. Then even if you're not a government critic and you have some emergency or you have a relative and you know that it may involve a procedure where they will have to give that person general anesthesia and they sleep, you want to avoid such hospitals because they will steal your organ and you have nowhere to run to. So they brought that bill as a way of protection. But as a country, we didn't give it attention because, you know, Uganda, we want to jump on things trending, or Zambia, we want to jump on things that do not matter. We want to jump on Lugambo, things that don't matter. So that thing also passed by like that. But for people who followed the news and knew what was happening, it was so sad that now you see a bill and you know when the day you wake up and you don't find a part of you in your body, it will be very difficult for you to follow up because there's a whole law that is now supporting them. Because when you go to a hospital and they are going to do an operation on you, there's where you sign. And in most cases, they call it consent. When we give a nurse, normally they tell a nurse to go and explain to you and get the thing interpreted to you for you to sign for a consent. You realize that in the hospitals, as you're signing for a consent to be taken on table for a procedure that will make you sleep off, there's possibility that they can easily make you also sign a consent for one of your organs to be removed. And they have a whole law that now protects them. So that one, Tamale Mirundi fought it alone. But also Tamale Mirundi was one man that I also want to blame him for prolonging NRM rule in this country. But now you see he's gone, and it is very hard now for you to blame a person who is gone, because you realize he was a propagandist. He was a propagandist who knew how to play with the population psychology. Like even the things that are so obvious, Tamale Mirundi could come in a propaganda way and then change the population's narrative in a way that is not forceful, but is so dangerous and harming to the people who are not who are not educated. Number one, then people who do not have the will to research beyond what they see on TV. So he played that role so well, and I don't know whether they will have another person who can help them tame the population with propaganda, because he was a very good propagandist. That he is someone who can come on TV and speak to you. Tamale Mirundi is someone who can convince you that he owns Uganda and he sells it to you if you don't know him, because he was a very good propagandist. I don't know whether he went for it in school because he was so good, so good. So those are the smart minds that the president has used to tame his population. Because you see, however much they fight Tamale Mirundi, they cannot chase him out of every TV stations because they needed him to be there. That is a propagandist. And the population in Uganda listen to him so much. And yet, majority do not know how to isolate when he has started twisting a story or when he's not twisting a story. Majority cannot isolate whether this is truth or not truth. Unless people who have seen him for a long time know that, okay, now he has started propaganda. Okay, now he wants to pass this point. Because he's one person that the government used in case they want to pass in something that the public may not like. So there's a way he would come on TV consecutively for a week, but he would bring it slowly, in a way that the masses cannot reject. So in one way or the other, he takes that blame that they demoralize people so much, they control the people so much that right now the people are too weak to fight for them for themselves, because they were fed with propaganda and the masses was properly tamed by people like Tamale Mirundi. But all in other things, to me, I believe he fought his fight. Even when we say he was a beneficiary of the corrupt, but he did not condone corruption. It might not be true, because you see, it is like you telling us, Mohozi, when he becomes president, he will fight corruption. His father is too soft. Come on, Mohozi, we have not seen him live separate from his father. Everything he has now was given to him by the father. He's in his 40s, but he lives in the father's house. So, and everything that the father does, he does with him together on table. The only thing that we see is that the father has managed to put the fear in him that the father can still control him. Because when you look at African homes right now, that age of Mohozi normally is the one who advises the father. Normally is the one whom the father respects. But it is contrary to him, that for him right now he still fears the father, he still accepts everything. So it is like telling us Mohozi will fight corruption, because that is what they came with, that they will fight corruption, what. So corruption evidence has come. The youth have said not to corruption. The youth want to march to parliament, and now they can't say a thing. And then you see that his whole team, from the top to the lowest, is all corrupt, and they are the ones filling Luzira prison. So it is the same to me when you begin saying Tamale Mirundi did not accept corruption, what. Tamale Mirundi was someone who benefited from corruption. That one we cannot deny it. He's someone who lived in corruption, but he is also someone who was brought in the public to show that not everyone in government was okay with certain things, and yet they were okay with it, and he knew how to play his role so well. But all in all, may his soul rest in peace, because he fought his fight, and he was a fighter. He has been poisoned several times, but he still got up, still got up, still got up. He was a strong man, and I think it was this time, may his soul rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Principal D, for your submission. Thank you very, very much. Someone, okay, Isande, I'm going to give you some time. Just, sorry, someone posted something in the comment section, which I actually forgot to read. But like we said, everyone has his own personal observations, and you are free to say anything you want. But Florence in the comment section said Tamale Mirundi was one of the most intelligent elites who enabled dictator Museveni, and he was the chief seller of a narrative that Museveni is good. It is the people around him that are bad, which is far from the truth, and has been a barrier in fight against dictatorship. Rest in peace, these people. So, like I said, and what Dr. Stella said, when you listen, it's the Ugandans must understand when you listen to someone. You must first of all identify the person you are listening to. It is our responsibility to know this is a propagandist, and it is upon you to pick the things that you are supposed to pick. He was a propagandist who enabled the regime from the time he joined, probably around 20, maybe 206 or something there. So from the time he joined, he became a chief propagandist of the regime, and he was enabling it, supporting it, and drawing all the propaganda to support the regime. During still in that time, there are also things that he helped Ugandans to understand. You get, we can't say that he's solely responsible for the staying power of the regime. No, but he contributed. So you pick the positive thing about him and the negative thing about him, and these things we can talk about it, like what Principal D has spoken. So it's okay. It's okay. You are free to speak. First of all, I'll give Sandy, then Edwin. Please put your hands down. Then after that, Mukasa. You guys remember you submitted. So I'll give you 2 minutes each, and then Mukasa will come. Sandy first, then Edwin next.
Okay. May I've remembered something small that I want to submit. One thing another thing I credit about Tamale Mirundi is that he was a lone soldier who never feared to speak his opinion, no matter how unpopular it might be. He always risked speaking out unpopular opinions. I've remembered one thing about him. Tamale Mirundi is one person who would sometimes put on a rosary, but when he's polygamous, and I should say he's a Pan-Africanist who, amidst the huge popular belief of the Christianity and the godly and the white man godly gospel, would not shy away from upholding and talking about his culture. Tamale Mirundi ye muntu gwembadde mmanyi nga ye buli lwajja ku TV tashying away from talking about his culture, okugerayo nga wakolera linono, okwogera ebintu bye ebyomusamiza. An opinion that someone would easily believe and think it's very unpopular in the current generation. Christianity and other religions zatulya culture twazerabira zajja wano ne zituyigiriza nti ebyaffe ebyenono bya sitaani buli omu n'atwala ekyo, naye Tamale Mirundi has died when he was not shying away from holding high the flag of his culture. I credit him for that, kubanga such an unpopular opinion isn't easy to hold. I think that's why nga abadde ebintu bye byatera nnyo okwogera ebisinga bibadde nga bibeera nga ne bwekibeera nga kiri unpopular naye nga kipushinga paka abantu bwe batandika okulaba silver lining behind it. Abantu bali boogera wano ku kyawugana transplant yapushinga ekintu ekyo solo ngaali yekka, ndowooza bali babikola paka lwe balaba nti omuntu ono alabika population etandise omukkiriza kwe kuleetayo etteeka erina legalized ya trade. And I think right now because just like what Peter said,
Okay, what happened? Isande? I can't hear you. Edwin, can you hear Isande?
No, I'm not hearing him.
All right, please take over. Take over as he said, but he was making a very good point.
Okay, I'm going to catch up from where I stopped because that's the point where I wanted to start commenting on what have been said so far. Yeah, Tamale Mirundi stood up on the Uganda nation thing, but what I want to make clear, he was not alone. During that period of time, President Joseph Kiza Kabuleta also joined the issue and was talking about it almost everywhere he went. About the Uganda donation program, actually, by that time, Tamale Mirundi were very natural. New President Joseph Kiza Kabuleta and Bachogirako. Why Kabanga Katono? Mulago nevayo neraganga bwe yakoze the first transplant kyokanga ebyaddala si yali esoose ebyaddala abantu abasinganga okufuna accident babajjangamu ebitundu nebabikukusa nebabiguza abantu abalala naye that always happened mu nsinga zino Uganda ezikyakula nga population esinga njavu kyokanga n'abakulembera ba mafia buli abakulembeze babeera ba mafia buli ebikolwa ebikolebwa mu ggwanga mumaliriza era nga buli kimu baagala kukikolamu nga bwe basanze amateeka bwe bagako even etteeka lye baayisa likkiriza omusawo okukutunuulira n'agamba ono ani atera okufa jjukira omusawo yasobola okutunuulira n'akola conclusion nti onootera okufa oba oli mulamu oba toli wadde ogamba ono ani atera okufa era Ekirala kibadde ku mukulu Tamale Mirundi. Tamale Mirundi actually ensi yalwawo mu recognizing nga propagandist. Mukusookera ddala ensi yamukkiririzaamu actually during the period we yakoleranga ground work we nga propagandist ensi teyamumanya namumanya kyekituufu naye even actually the most funny thing abantu abasinga sitwala bana ku lutalo lwa Museveni waliwo story waliwo narrative abakulu abo gye baakola nejja nenzikiriza nti abantu bambazibwa propaganda mutuufu bino byawuzanga Museveni yafuuka omuti ne bamuggyako simanyi omuyembe ogumu ne guvaamu gye yajja ekiwalaata it was Tamale Mirundi's work so that guy so ensi we yamurecognizing nga propagandist wa NRM then ne bakyusa the way how he built the propaganda luli yazimbanga propaganda ng'awaana nawe ne bamuzza mu perspective gye ekyokola malice and sabotage you are with them but it's as if you are against them awo nawo n'amalawo ebbanga bwe yamalawo ebbanga ne bamukyusa n'abeera nga alinyuta otabuzaabuza atategeerekeka ebintu bye biringa byakatemba naye nga mukatemba mwayita okupulaginga message mitwe gy'abantu nga abantu tebategedde kutegeera so that was him so ekyo kye mbalinyawo okugamba kyokka.
Thank you so much. By the way, that's a very good observation. How regime survive? They use such people, drawing attention, like diverting people's, and then akulaganga, opposing, in the same video, the one that I was playing in the morning, you will see like Akuba no Ashina supporting the one. So at the end of the day, it confuses Ugandans, but we said it must be Ugandans. Ugandans must be in a situation where they must discern. Because he's a propagandist. You as you listener, you must discern what you're supposed to take in. You know. Okay. Mukasa, please, you have the mic.
Sooner, neyanziza mwana so confirming over mfuna.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so it has been a while indeed. I've been listening just. But then I'm trying to study Museveni, like as Museveni as a person, as I've been making some studies trying to find out who is this guy. No, but ninja kubanga chenbi nasoma like byembade nsubira byembade ngasubira nti namutegeera birala like twasoma political education abamu kumate mwamusoma simanya abamu kubalonti bamusomaze namusomako abate bamusomako abamu bachali batonyo like abasinga bajenezi no bamusoma ama merenio nasoma ku political education ne bitwasoma wali so robiri falinga ko nga Museveni like twasoma ku 10 point program ne bisigale sagala genda yonyeyo naye njagala kwogera ku Tamale Mirundi katono nnyo kubanga nze enda kwa kanamu kokundowooza z'abasinga okugamba nti abada fighting corruption Taina wa nze muntegere yange taina kyalwanyisiza ziri the fight against corruption. Tamale Mirundi did nothing. I want you to be very careful. Like there is a process of developing a mind. That process is called cultivating. You cultivate your mind. That process involves enhancing someone's mental ability, thinking skills, and trying to understand and make a sound judgment with good reasons. Chetusingo okulakinga owe mukubizibu byetazofuna ngaba na Uganda be bantu abagezi. Amazima katonda mugulu Tamale Mirundi sold his soul to the devil. He's a genius because jagala mutegere nti ezimu kunsobiza ensi ebanga lyebaddewo zikolebwa bagezi. Bayitira bali basajja bagezi bamusolini bagezi ba Napoleon bali bagezi. Ono gaye yatta abakonge yali mbelija mbali bamuyitani yali musajja mugezi. So babeera bagezi aba destabilizing oba stabilizing ensi. So Tamale Mirundi was a genius. Sorry, his life has gone, but every man dies. Ebigambo byayogerwa Sir William Wallace nga bagenda omutuga yali musajja mu Scotland yagamba every man dies. So fena tufa yabuli musajja afa. So afude the journey has ended. Na ye talina kyakoze okujjako okututeeka mu misery ng'akozesa obwongo bwe. Mwena bali mu supporting wano. You're just victims of his intelligence. Because temusobola cultivating bwongo kumanya how he has been praying for that government to stay in power. So na kyoko kwogerako recently kyofo yogede nti abaddenga ajjana kuba wano then atena supporting kiri. That is the job. That is the job of confusing the mind of people. That ojano kere nchano gamba mugamba nti yalete ekintu kyokutunda organize natandika okukifighting single handed. What did he fight? Yali stopinze yo muntu n'omugu bajja mu nsigo nagamba nti temuzi mujja mu kakati abagenze ko mu dwaliro natandika okunonya abasawo nabateeka ku display bana abasawo batunde bibajjamu abantu organize ne baziwa bagundi because government ya Museveni yetunda organize bo abamu government ya Museveni balwabo ogo basale musale bebatunda organize mu Middle East. So bokere nchano bango supporting government y'abantu aba teno bayino gamba olwanyisa okutunda organize ngate you supporting the government then you're confusing us. Abantu abamu kuffe ensobi z'abasajja abagezi okutunda emyoyo gyabwe eri sitaani twazira badda abamu bazira bakati ate abamu just ba victims because waliwo omuntu yagamba nti some of the souls cannot be saved because they are feeding from the system of Satan. Kati abamu kuffe twafuuka okubanga twafuuka ekizibu eri abagezi twafuuka ensi tutabuseeko Uganda because abandi baddenga abagezi because abantu b'ensi mukimanyi tuba twetaaga bakulembeze like buli muntu asobola okwerowooleza osobola okukola judgment nebisigade. That is what makes us humans. You have your own conscience, you can make a private thought and bisigade naye twetaaga abakulembeze ate mu ntegera y'obutonde waliyo kye bayita there are some people who are clever than others. There are some people who are intelligent than others. Those qualified to lead the others, they can qualify to lead the masses. So those who are intelligent more than the others, if they decide with when they sit on the same table with the oppressor, then the masses is in trouble. Because njagala otunulira Museveni abadde akola ati ebintu bye. However much he is now a dying man, very old and everything, abadde nga akozesa bagezi. So namumanyi bulungi bantu mwenda bagezi. Babadde basajja bagezi betuwaliza nawulira nga Ndumwenda ku kapito ng'akuba essimu ku kapito naye nga Ndumwenda yayogeranga ebintu n'ogamba yarabi ng'omwaka ng'asobola okwanalyizinga all the mistakes, all the bad things that the government is doing. Essaawa ena Ndumwenda agamba ki? Twawulira Frank Gashumba mu sisimu ka Uganda. Sisimu ka Uganda Frank Gashumba yayogeranga atya? Okitegeera Museveni akwata abagezi n'abakozesa okulimbalimba abantu betuyinza ogamba nti si bagezi. Teri muntu atali mugezi naye our people lacks knowledge. Balacking civic knowledge, balacking ebintu bingi. They don't know how to analyze. They don't have that critical thinking skills. They don't have anything. They are just innocent souls that need to be saved. So if the intelligent people don't save them, that's why we are in the mess we are in now. It is the works of Tamale Mirundi and the rest that are putting us where we are. So rest in peace, but he has done nothing in fighting for corruption. I stop there for Tamale Mirundi. Then okuva bakwata abaana actually mbadde se okuva bakwata abaana ba 23rd mbadde sibebazanga abaana abaali mu struggle yo because siri waka then abaana bali ku ground actually mwakola kyamaanyi nnyo yoyo. I want you to understand that some of us care what you have to say. We care what your experiences have been and we care about your journey. Don't lose the ability that you're a critical thinker. You have the ability to think, to rationalize and to make a conclusion. Never settle for anything less than real and authentic. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Mukasa, for your submission. Thank you so much for your views. Okay, we open the space to say what we want to speak about Tamale Mirundi, and we are not going to speak what and all that. Dr. Stella, you have something, and then after Brayo just a component once you got Dr. Stella.
Yeah, but I want to respond perhaps to Comrade Mukasa Lawrence. I think for me kumacha bwe nayogedde nagambye nti waliwo kye bayita cancel culture. Nti omuntu ayinza okukola ebintu ebirungi bingi n'amala n'ayonoona n'amala n'akola ekirungi naye olwokubanga yayonoona ne twerabira ebintu ebirungi byonna byonna bye yakola. It's very possible within the current cancel culture ate leero this generation kiyitiridde that we fail to recognize when people contribute positively towards particular causes. So Tamale ndabadde njogera ku makyawo oba nze nasoose
Yes.
kinagambye nti nze Tamale Mirundi ekiseera kye yali akolera gavumenti nga tebannaba kubba ssente ze eza corruption. Okolanga stories za Museveni papa atambulanga mu yalina abayitako ekiro bw'olaba amaaso ga Green Museveni aba avudde mu nsiku ng'ajja ayingidde e Masaka agenda Kampala. You know, those real fictitious stories nga bakyali mu lutalo tebannaba kuwamba mu 86 all the way up to wano nga bamubbye ssente ze nze saamuwuliriza. At least sometimes abasoma masikola tuwuliriza what is the most current scheme. But Gamukulu Comrade Mukasa wagambye n'ayogera ku Andrew Mwenda. Andrew Mwenda was my classmate. We did mass comm together 93 to 96, graduated in 97. Mugezi nnyo ebintu yakola ebyasooka government such that he exposed the government so badly that he was taken to court. Bakola omusango ogwo, that seminal case which I was court ya Onyango Bob Mwenda and others, you know, that challenged defamation, libel, and is used for free expression against public officials.
Doctor,
inlo wa Museveni okuba nti yali akolera gavumenti eyo nepotism, for example tugimanyi nti atandika ogitegera ebyalwabogo Tamale Mirundi amuneenyinga aneenyinga essente ze bamuwa ne bamubba. Of course he used to benefit from corruption. Omusala gwe gwali gwa corruption yakolanga byonna essente ze z'abantu. But I think for me what he exposed at least zibazigula amaaso n'akuba banne bamabaati thieves n'abakuba n'abateeka wali n'aneenyinga mafia. Those things for me are part of the struggle. And I cannot say olwokuba teteyaleeta muntu nga bamusokodde ekyenda n'amuteekawaawo ne tukolaba exposing the Uganda nation. Part of the fight we have to do is civic education, naming corrupt people, exposing corrupt systems, and I think much more than some of us, much more than some of the work I've done. Tamale Mirundi alina tutuuti ze yamulisa nga zibaswaza ziba exposing. So he wasn't an angel. I think for me the first thing I said is he was a propagandist, he was controversial, and I think he turns around and becomes an anti-corruption worker, exposing, giving information, writing his small books, going on 2 different channels, both public media and social media, and he's actually working against corruption. So while Mukulu Mukasa and others can say China, I think for me, the first thing we have to do is get the information, teach people, educate people, civil education, civic education, political education, anti-corruption education. And if he did anything to build the information, exposing nepotism, corruption, embezzlement, he contributed towards I will struggle against corruption, and that is why for me, I will not be dancing on his grave. Ngenda kungubaga, nga kungubaga omuntu wa NRM, yakunguzira NRM, yakolera NRM kituufu. Naye towards the end of his life, mutabani we bamukuba era NUP. Yes, the Tamale Mirundi began speaking heatedly against NRM. It's unfortunate he didn't join the opposition. He joined PLU for a while. Namala naberawo, NRM PLU batamanye kikyali ku bulungi. But at least yagamba abaga avunirira Museveni ne NRM. N'ababira NRM baganda ne in-laws ba Museveni okubba ssente ze. So maybe what he did was to turn to the anti-corruption fight because of his own personal pain. Maybe it was selfish, centric, but I cannot take away. Yamulisa n'alaga n'alabisa ebibuzi n'alabisa bani abakolera gavumenti nga tebaganda ba Museveni oba bakulu ba Museveni. Ebinange sinabikola yasooka y'obikola ate yabikola nnyo okutuusinga kubanga bunaabwe meetings zabwe ze bakolanga nga batyesali diivu ebyo nabyo yabikola. So kisobola kuyita nga bagafiranyaze nkya olwokuba oli yalyanga ku muguzi ate nze sigiryangako olwekyo nze nkoze nnyo ye talina kyali akoze. Abasobola okikola mukole naye nze nkungubaga nti bwe banga anti-corruption struggle a comrade who is very conflicted, very convoluted, very controversial, is a propagandist. When I was submitting, I see, people who've been listening to him in his last 2 years, maybe. Again at State House, staff is sent. But that is what propagandists do. He's a propagandist. Malice and sabotage, right? Propaganda mubone mukyala wa Luwongo yafuna miliyoni ebisatu Tamale bwagamba gagundi yamulaga nti yafuna ekizibu that is how propagandists work. You have to take their words with a pinch of salt, very skeptical about what he says, but you cannot say it. I think for me sijja kyogera wadde buli omwalina eddeetu n'eddembe okwogera kyalowooza era naffe abawuliriza tusunsulemu tutwale. Then I really liked how someone talked about his comedy. I liked how Tamale Mirundi made politics enjoyable because politics is so boring. Talking about corruption and talking about numbers and dollars and I don't know what billions and trillions. Even for an interested person like me, economics, corruption, money, people are almost limited. But there's a way in which he went discuss politics, economics, corruption. Really interesting. And his style, the style in international opinion, statistics, history, current affairs, broken English. They had a style of bringing political issues of the day down to the people. When I got a border man who became my driver, would you listen to Tamale? Sometimes I had to turn, like when you're in the car and you're driving, and the driver wants to listen to this program. N'omukozi wange road eka ability okunyumya n'omuntu w'amasi n'ategeera ekintu kyayogerako politics ya Uganda ayinza okuba ebisinga byayogera mu myaka gyasooka byali tebituyamba naye awo bakubira mutabani we ne bamubbira ssente. That time when he converts and becomes anti-government, if it was propaganda, I really began tuning in. And like I said, some of the work he did on Baba TV with Simon Muyanga Lutaya and later with Kwezila, whatever his name is, was really anti-government, anti-corruption, anti-fascism work. So abagamba saying nothing for fine. Then the nanga asinga. Then okusomesa abantu n'embalaga ebikulu gavumenti ya Museveni. Naye Tamale Mirundi asinga. Era ne wakwesobola muwakanya bigonya abanga babuulirize naye biwulize n'obwegenderezo olina okusunsula olina okuba n'akakumunta akagamba kino kitukolera. That's where the problem with some of the things he said is that then we cannot be lazy about the work he was doing. But do we throw all of it out? And the Sija Chikula. Waliwo ebintu bye yakola ku struggle y'okulwanyisa enguzi mu Uganda besigenda kola emyaka gyange emirala ng'abiri oba ataano egiri mu maaso. Era bwe situnga mirimu gye gyakola mba musirusiru. Thank you very much. Wumule mirembe Tamale Mirundi abammiso bongera okukola emizimu gy'abajjajjaawe gigolokoke nga naye Katonda bw'amusaasira byonna ebyamusobako tujja musanga mu nsi ensuubize kubanga ngenda mu nsi ensuubize nga maze okufa naye nandyagadde mbereko mu nsi ensuubize etalimu buzi wano mu Uganda yaffe nga nkomyewo okuva gyendi nebikyerimanje mulangira okuva omulenge gw'Abajamani n'okulya sausage zaabwe. Awumule bulungi Uganda waffe taata waffe jjajjaffe baffe Tamale Mirundi Senior.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stella. Thank you so much, Dr. Stella. As a citizen, as a responsible citizen, you are supposed to okusunsulamu what is important. Stella nga yogedde wabanga njogedde gosunsulamu ebikuyamba, tosobola gamba oyayogera kasasiro ikaika gwesunsulamu ebikuyamba then ebitakuyamba bireke. I think for me that's what I picked from Tamale. Like I said, I have a colleague as mu box yange machana ngamba mwana akasajja nkafude, but this is the guy when I was listening to Tamale ngamba arena website ina makulu avuma kino avuma wali sajja ka apologist come 7 and all that. Them kapa no problem, let me listen because me is the message gomprego I can pick what I want. So but because I reached a time because it was becoming too much ngasiya ina kudebuliza nyonyo like that. And then ye ate nafuuka addict okunsingako okitegeera. So at the end of the day it is you uliriza, it's you to pick something. Gwe uliriza oba olyagala kasasiro pick oba osaze okupinga kasasiro pick oba osaze okupinga any positive, just pick. It's up to you, but as citizens are responsible, you are supposed to pick something from someone. Togamba nti oyogedde completely, ayogedde nonsense. Tamale Mirundi omu ku bantu propagandist abamanyikiddwa, yasoma political science, yasoma journalism, era badde yewana n'okwewaana. Ye muntu omu ku bannayuganda basoma political science to the maximum okitegeera. Kati abadde amanyi mukozesa, kati gwe tonenya mulimu gwe gwakola, that is his job, that was paying him money. Kati nga gwawuliriza, you are supposed to discern and pick something from ebikuyamba. Ye leading a campaign eyayogera tu okujjamba extracting organs mu bantu. Yasoko kwogera ku, like Sarah said, there's no one yayogera ku yasoko kwogera ku extracting organs mu bantu mu Uganda. No abati yagenda mu dwaliro physically naye yaleta that kind of consciousness ngati jibo yagambye nti waliwo mukwano gwe yafuna accident naga abaneze mu dwaliro bagenda kuzija mu organs zangu ekitegeera. That kind of consciousness kitegeeza ya contributing, atosoga gamati ya contributing anything. Anyway, Brayo, let's first finish those people that have not yet spoken. We start with Brayo to Florence, then to Nakato.
Yeah, man. Kuma every sona omukisaguno nabuli aliko nabuli atesa tulina obutera biranga togera kutamale ensonga enkulu ya corruption because wano nawe tuli bimu ku bintu bitagenda kulerabwa ku Joseph Tamale Mirundi senior ye kigambo kyabadde alina towards corrupt people era siri omu ku bagenda okumucrossfyinga nti talina kyagaseeko mu fight against corruption nedda. Tamale buli wabadde akwata omuzindaalo ngayogera ku babiba sente ekyo abadde akyogera ku Senate. Tamale buli wabadde akwata omuzindaalo ate nga naffe tulimanyi abadde atugamba nti information etuuke wa Museveni info iretede eggwanga okuba nga liri mu njega ate ng'ekyo kyonna tukimanyi because bw'olaba defense intelligence eya Uganda information gye yafulumya ku march to parliament bwebanga yewe ekyo wetuuke wa Museveni that means tulina obuzibu. So bino byonna Tamale abadde nga ajja abyogerako over the years n'atugamba naye tunenya omusajja naye abamuwa information ebyenoonyeza byabwe akakundi akali awo okumpi. I remember one of the shows yagamba nti mu State House mulimu enkubo bbiri kati olukuba olumu Museveni lwanaayitamu bw'oba tewasasudde sente zimala tebakutuuzaawo bakutuuza mu lulala watajja kukola ki watajja kuyita. Kati nekibanga information Museveni gyafuna ntono ebyo na Tamale azabyogera ate kugenda obitundamu nga lisetwe. Tamale Mirundi abadde muntu ali controversial. I think ye muntu gwe wandiyagadde okuwuliriza to some occasions. Tamale gonyiza n'akuwa ate era Tamale ye muntu gw'obadde omuddamu ate nemukwatagana bulungi. Ekibi abadde akiyita kibi, ekirungi n'akiyita kirungi. Y'ensonga lwaki ku nyuyi zonna Tamale abadde talinayo buzibu. Ng'ogyeko baliri ababiba sente because bo abadde alina asiba abakuba enkya n'eggulu. Tamale teri gwe atayisizaamu ggaali. Nze ndi wenyini omukulembeze wange wenyini amusizamu eggaali. Ayisizza Museveni eggaali, ayisizza mu bantu ba paalamenti eggaali. Naye Tamale ekintu ky'abadde asinga okulaba era kitugenda okumusobwako nti abadde alwanirira omuntu wa wansi. That's it. Ssuuna ayogedde ku kya organize yalinga ayogera. Tamale abadde talina authority yonna mu ggwanga lino eno except okukozesa omumwa gwe. Yali talina mechanism gy'agenda ayitamu kulaba ng'anyiriza organic business mu Uganda because first of all eri wide ate y'abantu banene ate y'abagagga, you understand. Kati okugiyimiriza ye ng'omuntu era agenda kola except okujja okubyogera ku bwogezi. So it's the same to fighting corruption, but kitwakozeewo ekyamanyi kugenda ku street but tubadde nga tujja tubyogerako because that's the only way we can okumanyisa abantu then n'okukyogerako because ye tuyo kaje tulina. Tamale abadde talina tuyo ndala yonna okuggyako omumwa gwe. Bwe yavaayo n'akyogerako nze ngamba nti awujalwana olutalo lwe because yamanyisa eggwanga nti they think that is happening kwana bagende bwe babajja mu bitundu by'omunda. So kyali kiri erife bannayuganda okumanya nti nedda sijja genda kunzija mu bitundu bya kyama because it is happening.
Ebitundu by'omunda si bitundu bya kyama.
So anyway, ebitundu by'omunda organs. Tamale ku fight against corruption. Teri lunaku lwabadde ajja ku TV n'atayogera ku parliament ya Uganda n'abudweko. Tamale bw'obanga oyagala okumusiima ndabika vidiyo ke wano eno nga kyali ku NBS nga kyali ne yali ne Kaziro Bashir. N'agamba nti ababaka ba parliament bw'oba oyagala okumanya obusiru bwe balina babatwale batekewo olulu era etteeka nti buli mubaka wa parliament okugenda ofukamira ba parliament basooke bamutwale mu masomero ga secondary aga dressing bonna gali mu ggwanga. Nga requirement yonna gyalina tugeze nga mu constituency mu musoma constituency oli mubaka yeesimbyewo agenda addressing abantu abo n'agamba tebasobola ate mutuufu ogenda okituulamu they can't. Otunula omubaka wa parliament nga tasobola na addressing abantu bawera 10 nga tasobola. Naye ekyokubiri nti singa sitting allowance zaali talking allowance singa ababaka tebeesimbawo because sitting allowance ogenda n'otuuza kabinako n'ofuna sente olw'eggulu n'otambula n'odda ewaka. Naye singa zaali talking allowance ate okitunulamu nga kyandibadde talking allowance not sitting allowance kubanga osindika omubaka mu parliament mutuufu nga ku answer terina we yali awulikikiddeko owulira. Naye adabuze mu nkuba ku madaala n'agamba fa parliament kati etteeka liisewo kati okay tugambe nti yes etteeka lyayita ne baba wasabisa wadde milioni 5 ezaabwe bampoga n'ebinye bya commissioner. Naye according to the rule of the court tugeze kale ntuufu soke tuve ku concept tugeze ntufu egamandi tekali yaita mu parliament okay the rules ja procedure yaita parliament ne baziba basente tiri waka parliament yamanya nti kintu kyose oninga representative of bakikirira bayino kubanga bakini okumanya ebintu ebyo naye bugava yo mawulire nga agole mazo ko disclosing bagenda ku madala ga parliament batandika kugamba nti sente za bazitute ererere tugende mu motion owulite naye be babaka parliament basobola kutula mu parliament ne bamanya biki ebise ku kansa tebasobola kutula ne balowooza nti this is wrong until nga kivuddeyo so Tamale agamba nti singa obusanga yali talking allowance bali bafuna nga sitting allowance obusanga abana abantu badeke kyalo kusobola kati kunze awuliriza ebigambo ebyo tosobola kungamba nti ntwale Tamale avuddeyo n'avuma Bobi Wine nga n'okutwala mu bino ebigambo because si yereka avuddeyo n'avuma Bobi Wine si yereka avuddeyo n'avuma opposition si yereka ayiseza ne bakatikire gali nze omusajja nkuwulira naye ne ku mulembe bwe yavumira ku katikiro bana njagala ya mutima nti yayina ensonga eginywe omusajja ali akwata estofaali kiwulira nga atakunganya mu banako mutobola sana nesente zali kusanga zali ziwera so tetu mu crossfire nga mukadde kano I was one of the people I saw amawulire ng'omusajja onafudde nawe didn't nako ku mutima naye naso senenze gamakaivi zange because I have a big gallery of this guy's video ne mugendo ziyita just noziwowudde Tamale Mirundi abadde kusaidia abanyikirizibwa olunaku lwonna kukyanga bamu gavumenti ya Museveni abadde akyogera lumu ti gavumenti ya Museveni yantusa ku bino kindi sidda mugikolera ne wendi fe magombe naye wano gamba tagala na sente za Museveni bidde abakozi commenting abagamba Museveni yabadde amulabirira yabadde amulasasulira eddwaliro which is okay because is a citizen ati asaving eggwanga sinza gana muntu yasavinga ko ggwanga linene okukwata sente za muwamusoleze mu jjanjabi ate nga basically na mu Uganda omuntu gwe twandibadde tugamba nti teetagadde okuteekebwako okuswasibwa essaawa zino eno singa abadde Uduseini funa tumumanyi aga Katonda mugulu Uduseini n'asikamu omuko gw'enkomerero essaawa zino eno sisobola n'omukubira ekyo aziso yankubula nza n'okutandika okuseka that's the person gwe tuyinza okugamba talina kyayamba eggwanga naye ng'abaddeyo ng'ayogera kati bwe abantu bwe tuyinza okwogera naye Tamale Mirundi I think tubeera unfair bwe tugamba nti talina ttafaali lyagase ku ggwanga ayinza okuba takoze na mikono gye naye atutegeezezza abadde political analyst annyonnyodde ensonga nze ekintu kyayogerera ku parliament terina kyetugazisa fact is terina kyetugazisa so guys buli mwalina opinion ye buli mwasobola okuanalyze issue nga bweziri naye nze ngamba for the first time Uganda nzituze wamu kufa kwa Tamale tukole ekintu kimu because nalabye clip ye nga alina Kasuku ng'agamba nti ye waba afudde tagenda kuyiza media kumukola mawulire media traditional media Daily Monitor New Vision izani naga nti social media kali yebemwogera ko yebemukola mawulire so I think abanga yakusaba nga social media faba mukola mu content faba mukola mawulire faba tambuza information naye like yachawa media because ari nga terifa nga nafe tukimanyi nuliyanga New Vision yatukoze ko wane n'omutwe mwagula New Vision is fair so baba yava inagisha abatakaniza nyo mukyawa so nze mbale nsaba nti engeri gyatu esiganga social media tuteke bibi byatukola emabega tu presenting ebirungi because ekyandala fena abalwana ne ku space gayo yatusinze okwogera ku injustices mu ggwanga in fact abadde voko gayo yo batukana okumu ofalinga sente ku NBS akyuse concept engeri gyali abiramu government nazirekawo imagine ekyamujja ku NBS because yali alina show every Tuesday ekyamujja ku NBS bamufalinga sente namugamba akyuse concept n'engeri gyali akuba mu government nagamba nze temunda banga tamba navayo that's the man kwe ku mutima nagamba nze kale ndasigala ku YouTube era nga bamagala musanga ku YouTube nenga yagana okola media houses olw'ensonga bali bagala ayogere bibi bali bagala ayogere naganze temunkolera concept temunkolera script so umuntu kyayinza okugana sente enyingi bwe zityo for the good of the country I think he has sacrificed a lot for us the little we can do is to sacrifice the little we can and say may his soul rest in peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian. By the way, the Sera Nyokola Gundi President, but like I said, I slept early yesterday. Kati zo posts za kollega late night. I didn't see them. I just woken up ngandaba Brian tagging them post ngandaba Tamale Mirundi after. But since I've been one of his followers from a long time, not like someone agamiti akata niko kuogera maybe no Tamale Mirundi yogera da. And if you have been around like Dr. Sera said, abantu batandika okumuliza long time. Mwabasinga mulabide wano ku YouTube nga yakatandika. Era ndika dokogera ku radio stations. Abantu mugaba mugobera kuva ku radio station. Simanyi palo simanyi Voice of Africa bichi nga ava ku radio station from one to the other. So abantu bamugobera for a very long time. Yes, please.
I want to say something. I want to share my video. I think I'm going to share zako. Nti ngina kuzungumza bibiri musatu olwali bakumeka solo kunzichukiza mu na kulwa kubiri wakusatu. Jiwe tugenda kwekala kasa. It was Tuesday.
Sikuli sorry.
Wali
lwakubiri. Yeah. Ati ngina kuzungumza bibiri musatu tugenda ngokwekala kasa. Ku Saturday nali mpuliriza gasimba gane ne banna mawulire. Omusajja gwayita Charles Owomushana yakola analysis kufe abali bagenze okwekala kasa. Naye nga analysis ye eraga nti this was a genuine cause. 2, it was not funded. 3, twabadde tulina ensonga ezisimba kugenda okwekalakaasa era ng'anenya gavumenti naye era omushana y'omu asibaawo ng'ajja atuvumirira kati essaawa eyo ng'akoze that good analysis kufe of course ngenda kutwala ekirungi kyalo omushana era singa omushana afa olunaku lwaleero ngenda mujjukirako ekyo nti at least olw'olumu n'essaawa enfu ebeera namu nti olwolwo olunaku ndatidde we did that protest lw'omushana yavaayo n'akola statement mutufu ngeri gyemme yakola analysis naye agamba nti ensonga lwaki agikola olw'ensonga kino tekyabaddemu na political party yonna it was a genuine move kati singa wafa olwaleero newankubadde ebyo bigenda kubeera bingi bati ngenda kumujjukirako ekyo so sinabadde mutuufu bwe tuba tuwuliriza abantu bano eno twala ekirungi ekibi kireke bana abantu bo bali kukitufu babasasula kati nga promotion, they are paid to be propagandists. It's okay, they have to understand naye bwamenya ensonga nga mutufu zaba propaganda zikujja kumula mizo tozesonyi was taking mabali genda n'entuufu. So nze nzijukira promotion akulu lunaku tugenda n'okukalakasa, he was Guinean yayogera ensonga n'agamba nti Museveni yayogera tanka n'ozitunuza mu bazzukulu bo sina bazzukulu bo nakasatwe abaana abazaali babazzukulu bo otunuza mu emirimu gy'emmundu eminene. N'agamba nti yabuuza omu ku baagenda okwekalakasa yali omu ku nephew we n'amubuuza nti asizana ebimundu sebimanyi ambuuza eyo emundu eri waggulu simanyi bagiyita batya ogimanyi angaze sigiwuliranga nako even absent nti n'abaana baffe tebamanyi na mundu zagenze ku street kubatunulamu. So bw'ava nakola statement eyo so I'm crossfiring because akoze ensonga egimu nengatako. So guys twelabire bibi tugende n'ebirungi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brayo. Thank you so much. When I was in the morning, I played for you a video ngagamba nti I've been following you for a long time. Tamale Mirundi is the most listened to and most watched political commentator in Uganda. And as an individual, yasinga lwaki. If baba yogera kasasiro, it's not then kitegeza yali badafunte yafunye ki teyalifunye that following. So thank you so much. Florence, you have the mic.
Sooner mbade sabaye dakika emu yokaba mbijimpe.
Okay, 1 minute, but I didn't want to bring people because you know waliwo abantu banja basa mic ate tanafuna mukisa kwogera, you know, so that's why I'm now. Okay, one.
Yeah, I just want to clarify on something. People, I didn't crucify Tamale Mirundi. The statement you put up that Tamale Mirundi in a fight for corruption, Tamale Mirundi has been a great. It has been he has been somebody which is so uncomparable. Mu Uganda like abadayagala gwangalie, abadayagala abantu abanaku, abadayogera ku bintu bingi nyunyunyu. Sina wenyiza mugerageranya mu politics wa Uganda. But opinion yange ate yabadde yange mu kulwanyisa corruption nabagambye at the end in the fight for corruption to me he has done nothing. But for the goods like it twogera kulamba Tamale Mirundi because utali kubogera bulimu ebirungi bingi nnyo nabadde ngamba in my opinion in the fight because waliwo abaganze simanyi nti yatali okubeera against government after nga bamumye sente za corruption so kuba malumu masente nga yali basasula ku corruption where is the fight naye ng'ebirungi bye yenga omuntu like in politics mu kwagala Uganda he's somebody that is uncomparable so temunfuna we I didn't crucify the guy but in the fight no.
Okay, thank you so much Mukasa, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Omuntu yasinga okuinitiating ekigambo mafia mu Uganda, mafia was Tamale Mirundi. Mafia kati mafia mutegeza abo corrupt gangs okitegeza ekigambo mafia isigamba nti bannayuganda bakimanyi naye okuinitiating ekigambo mu society mu Uganda as mafia was Tamale Mirundi. Florence, please have the mic.
Thank you Suna. Banange mwasibye mutya. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. To be honest, I was not going to pick the mic just out of respect for people who are genuinely mourning for Tamale Mirundi senior. I was mourning for people abesitezi kubanga olwali lwakusatu and today is the last day ya Red Cross okujayo emirambo wansi and there are still many people who are still down there which means abasinga bambi that is it bazikiddwa bagenda kusigala eyo no one is going to retrieve their bodies so nga nkuba mwakafaananyi ako nga mbasabira oba I was mourning then tunalotandika space eno and for me knowing that abantu ekyabase to be honest is negligence olwokuba government government tefa ku bantu kugamba I found it really hard okutandika ate okumoninga omuntu abadde atembeeta government yennyini so I'm very sorry. This is why I have mixed feelings naye sunagondese when you start blaming victims then I was like no, this is not right. Ogambye nti bannayuganda bateekwa okuba n'obwongo to discern what is propaganda and what is not propaganda. Ku bwongo bwa Tamale Mirundi senior bwabadde nabo ngeri gy'abadde asengekamu propaganda n'ogikomparinga population kati nganze senga wange abataasoma nnyo n'ogattako abantu abayise mu ssomero nga tebasomye wadde civic education tebamanyi who is responsible for what. Amazima gennyini osuubira abantu okutegeera nti eno propaganda eno si propaganda. No, Ugandans don't have that capacity. Most Ugandans don't. I'm very sorry, I'm not for saying Ugandans. I will say most Ugandans don't have that capacity to detect propaganda. Nange nalwawo nalimuwuliza Tamale kyantwalirako ebbanga okutegeera ono omusajja kiki kino okitegera kyantwalira ebbanga nganze omuntu alinako ku bwongo because I know I'm intelligent okitegeera kati ogambe singa nzira nkubuulire era kino simanyi bameka ku mmwe boss maybe many of you okubira senga unagamba Museveni si mubi abantu bamwetoyire be babi omusajja afuge asigale ku main biki nabona okunyonnyola abantu nabona okunyonnyola maama bannange nabona naye nga ki propaganda omusajja Tamale was a genius esege kati okugamba nti maama asobola nti Tamale agamba propaganda tasobola mukazi tasobola yasoma na university degree esege yakomera whatever senior whatever esege so bannange era gondese sooner because you are blaming the victims era mbadde nsoza obutayogera maybe because of that mbadde nina okujja okwogera and I know here bannange right now tukimanyi probably I've never been dead but probably Tamale Mirundi yafudde dda ayinza okuba nga tatuwulira This is what we are doing right now. It's for us to learn from his life. From his life, we learn and make better decisions. No, but yes, donation, he brought awareness. Nothing TV. That is true. Yes, nothing to immediate fighting corruption without giving up to immediate now exposing organ donation, organ safety. This is what we are doing. So what is propaganda? He has no fault. No, I have fault. Yes, I know Msango kwenti yamusajja mugezi nnyo nako samba gezi ge creating a propaganda. Netubisa binyabizo bya tulimu byonna rise corruption singate tubirimu maybe. And I'm saying maybe singate tubirimu. Kuna kuzikinana nnyo yakolera gundi for 14 years. Yalinga akola kibi nako. Bali na system zikaze tugezaako breaking nga sisi tulemye nzibu. Tubona abona.
Nzibu kubanga zategekebwa bagezi.
Yes, zategekebwa bagezi ate moyo muku bagezi. So banange ebintu byakola yabikola kama asinziroko amnamusekisa ku bintu byakola naye ate nabibi tetugenda bibikako kubanga these are lessons we learn temubikako mulekerawo Uganda